Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is Dr. Rao coming on my continuing the calm your mind with Dr. Rao. That's me. Uh, I started early and I'm anticipating some friends to come in other channels too. But welcome whoever is here. Um, this is an exercise in awareness that we have been doing for the last 3 days, and I plan to do it for the next altogether 40 days. That means 37 days are left, which is what it is, And I have Mary, and let me bring her in. Okay, there it is. Okay, I have a guest here, waiting, which is nice. Hello, Mary.
Dr. Rao.
How are you, Mary?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I miss you.
Yeah. So this is a room I'm doing every day for about an hour. Yeah. And we do an exercise. And maybe before that, I'm just introduce them. Then I will take through the exercise. Then any questions. We plan to do it for altogether 40 days. This is day 3. Okay. So it's kind of giving a service to people because of this technological explosion, all this data.
I gotta tell you, Dr. Rao,
Yeah.
with all due respect, to calm the mind,
Yeah.
is difficult.
Yeah, it is. That's why the
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because I don't really talk about it. But I have doctors in my family. I have judges in my family, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Uncles and aunts, and you know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How do you really calm the mind?
Yeah.
How to calm the mind?
That's what I'm addressing in this room, because you get up in the morning and then you do this deep breathing and this focusing that I'm going to go through with everybody, like a 15-20 minutes. And that really makes you focus on the breathing and your awareness into the present moment. And cultivating that in the morning is more important, because there's a day break, right, between day starting and we just woke up. So if you can catch the mind at the time to really be quiet, you can continue that through the day, hopefully.
But Dr. Rao,
yeah,
with all due respect to Benison and to you, I'm going to ask a question.
This is not medicine, though. This is a lifestyle thing.
I know, lifestyle.
Yeah.
I remember my grandfather, I remember my grandmother. There was no noise. There
Yeah.
was no television. There was no. They shut down electricity.
Yeah.
And no interaction.
Yeah.
And in any conversation, did not want it.
Yeah.
And so, how do you? So today, I get phone call at 8 a.m. I don't even know who these people are. Conversation. Stupid.
That is the point, Mary, because we have so many external stimuli, this social media,
Yeah.
this television, 24 hours, 365 days, right? So people are bombarded with so many stimuli. So we have to protect ourselves. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this room, because I do use technology. I use a lot of stuff in the, in my profession outside too. But I know how to keep my mind kind of not being inundated by that and use what is important. And also this deep breathing exercise I'm teaching really helps me to be in the present and to be calm. So this is a important wellness measure, and also protecting us from this lot of information growth, information overload. So this is not like a luxury or anything. It's something that we have to get hold of it at least every day. So if we see the kids, if you see the workers, if you see the doctors, lawyers, accountants, everybody is really having a lot of information presented to them, whether they want it or not. Even the social audio is like that too. That's why this effort to share with them how I using the technology and using appropriately, but also being aware of what it can do if you do it too much information overload into your mind. If you allow it, then that's a problem. That's why I'm doing this. And also, this is not going to be easy. And that's why I want to do several days in a row, so that if they are doing it and they have some problems, then we can attend to it. That's why we are doing this, Mary. You know. These modern times are going to be much more information, because the modern times are having this artificial intelligence, right? So there will be more and more data will be presented to us, and then we have to really pay attention to what it is doing to our minds. I'm not against the technology. I have used that very much, but we have to use it for our own good purposes. But there is a side effect to this too much technology in our minds. And that's why I kind of come to this kind of rooms and then conduct this, so that people can pick up simple things. You don't have to be a big time meditator, or you don't have to be religious. You can do all those stuff on your own time. That's okay. But then I'm teaching this for somebody who is modern, educated, using technology, and really not paying attention to what that constant stimulation is doing to their mind. And so take some breaks, take real breaks with the mind. If you take a physical break to drink something, that's different. But this is like understanding thought flow and using it properly, and also giving it some time and really clearing up the mind in the morning and in the evening is a simple technique, but then we don't pay attention to it. That's why somebody like me have to express what I think is a good thing in this modern life, to be able to take some time off and then just protect our mind. You got to understand several things. You have to understand your lifestyles, your your uh, work patterns, your habits you develop, and your entertainment. So many factors come in. But then, if you get up in the morning, just be away from the thoughts coming in, but being awareness, and then go and do your job. And me in the middle, you can take a few breaks and just a 1 minute every hour, then deep breathe, and then bring yourself to the presence. It's a much greater good that you have doing to your mind without really getting affected by the onslaught of so many stimuli and also so many distractions. Oh, they want to sell something, they want to do so. We allow them into our phones and into our devices, and we are working online most of the time because of the COVID and all that too. So this is the time when you really have to emphasize that's okay. You can do the work, but be prepared that that work may be doing some real time harm to our minds and our psychic energy, vital energy, and all that, right? So that's why I want to do this room on a daily basis and see whether people are doing it, and if they are doing it, if they have any problems, I want to be there to help them to solve that. Okay, that's why we are doing it. By the way, let me introduce myself to the people who don't know me. I'm a internal medicine doctor. I was in India up until my MBBS there, and then I came here in 1981. And ever since I have been practicing in this country. I did geriatrics first, and then I went and did internal medicine residencies, and then I established my own practice and had been there till 2019 in that big practice. But then I sold it. I found a small practice later on, and now most of my activities are online, telehealth and all that, right? But I kind of spend a lot of time not in the medicine as such, but in a wellness company I established, which is called VA PAL, which is providing services to people who are burning out and stressing out, and teaching them lifestyles, teaching them a lot of information from the ancient wisdom, so that the um, modern life is kind of balanced with some of the good things that the ancients taught about, being close to the nature, eating properly and exercising properly, and sleeping properly, and the last thing is calming the mind. That I call them four pillars of wellness, which we do all the time. Okay. Apart from that, I spent a lot of time talking about matters that interest me. For example, planet. Recently, there was a report by the UN, United Nations, that the things are getting pretty bad, and if you don't do a proper job of controlling the pollution and doing something actively, in 12 years we will be in dire strides, and then it may not be replaceable, the earth as it is, and it will be irreplaceable damage. That's what they said, right? So I wrote an article on that in the LinkedIn. So many other activities are there that draw my attention. I go and do them. But this is something people are missing because there is explosion of information. Granted, chat GPT and other artificial intelligences, they will deal with a lot of mundane and dreary things for us. That's good. But then when it takes over a lot of our mind activities, what are we going to do with the mind left to ourselves? We have to learn how to handle that so that it will be productive and that doesn't bleed all sorts of disorders, like you're bored, you're lonely, you are considering depression, suicide. All those things probably will be increased, so we need to get prepared for that a little bit, and the soft skills that are needed for that, which I developed studying the ancient wisdom, those things will be of use for anybody who goes into that kind of things. Okay, that's why we're doing it. See, what many people don't understand is this mind is something we can make a habit, and we can make a real hell and heaven out of it, right? That's what it is. So if you know how the mind works, how the mind is really can be tamed or can be prevented from having possible side effects from all this information explosion, information overload, which is very important, I think. So that's why this effort, even though I'm actively learning artificial intelligence, using it quite often, but I'm delighted I have a lot of free time which I can invest in turning myself inward and exploring, which is my favorite activity, by the way. In the morning, when I get up in the early hours of morning, that's the best time I have, and I was left alone by anybody, family or patients or friends or anybody like that, right? So those hours I kind of use for my spiritual inquiry within myself, in the mind, and then reading and studying people who teach all that, right? So that way my time is best spent in the morning, and by the 7 o'clock I'm already deep into all these things. Then I do a wellness club around 6 o'clock usually. And in that wellness club, what we do is we kind of exercise in awareness for an hour, being in the present, deep breathing, and also doing the yoga asanas, right? That way, our body is needed, our mind is alert and in the present, and our heart is really made to think of higher things and then be in the loving nature, and you kind of energize yourself. All that is happening in my wellness classes, and people who want to join those, they can go to my website, which is bapal.net/register, and you can enroll yourself from that website. I also have a coaching program for people who are burning out. I see this quite often in the healthcare field. Doctors, because of the data that are inundated, because of the work that has increased, and they don't have the support from the system. Now, of course, the major things are the system factors for the burnout, but this inner resilience that they can cultivate by doing this program I'm teaching, they can make themselves less reactive to their surroundings and more focused on their work and more energetic, and they sleep better and they eat properly and all that, right? So that's something I dedicated myself to help the healthcare worker to beat the burnout. So there's a course and there is a book also there, and I'm writing another book too. That book is called Modern Challenges, Ancient Solutions. So I'm busy with other activities, and artificial intelligence in the form of chat gpt and other programs are really helping me. But then the time that's left after doing all these things, I'm really able to use for myself, where I can really focus on my health and bodily wise, mentally also. So which is a very crucial period, because this artificial intelligence is the biggest change we're going to experience. So it has so many benefits, but it has also so many problems it can bring on. One of the problems I see is, what are we going to do with our mind? How can we take care of it? That's why first calm your mind and just to try to focus, try to be in the present. That's exactly what I'm teaching in this exercise, and hopefully people will adopt it. And I recommend that they do twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. Before you start the day, do that in the morning, and during the day, at least do on and off, with ideally 1 minute every 1 hour. And then in the evening, you do it again before you kind of persistence, that kind of really sincere effort you will see the change. I don't want this to be just a few days in a retreat and then forget about it. I want this to be more like a habit that people can do. And then you will find your time that is spent for the major exercise will go down from 20 minutes to 15, and you will have the same effect, and then 10. And basically, you are trying to teach your mind come out of the bad habits and then really establish yourself in this calm, serene, peaceful, non-reactive mind. That's the goal of this exercise. That's why I'm doing it so many days, because few days people may not grasp it. People may go back to their old mental habits very easily, and that's when they really don't get the benefit of this. So I would recommend that whoever listens to it, do it for a few series out. So last 2 days, Sonia was here. She is not here today for some reason. Maybe she is busy. But she comes to my wellness club too. So she is introduced to this like a year ago, and she has been doing it. And she told me that anger has gone much lower. She is becoming non-reactive. Basically, being in the present, deep breathing really makes your parasympathetic nervous system really activate, and that is a rest and digest system, right? Versus sympathetic nervous system is kind of when you're agitated, when you're irritated, when you perceive a danger or anything like that. That stress hormones of the sympathetic nervous system really raked up, and then they are harmful to your health. We all know that. But then people get angry, people get irritated, people get agitated. So many things during the work situations happen, especially in hospitals. We see that quite often, right? And that is time and again done is not good for you. So if you can be calm and cool and really have the inner resilience where you are subjected to a lot of difficult situations, life situations, you will be cool and use your energy to be able to solve the problems rather than that energy is acting against you. So that's why this purpose is that. So I'm the internal medicine doctor, but also I'm the informatics background. So I see the information overload in so many ways, and this is like a simple solution that people can do. You need to do the exercise, and also you need to understand what is the structure of the mind that is you are not aware, and then you are allowing the mind to develop its own neuronal paths, and they become your own tendencies, and then they come back when you have done something a long time ago. They will come back in your memory, and they can bother you. So yoga is really for the mind, and yoga teaches a lot about this inner nature of the mind. But for that, you got to have a healthy body, and that's why the physical yoga is combined. So the form of activity that we do in the wellness club is not conversational, is not entertainment. It's like a being really calm and quiet and doing the whole 1 hour in awareness, cultivating to be in the present, right? And then there will be explanation of the what we are doing, how we are doing. So principles are: be here and now, and focus on what you are doing, deep breath, and do both sides of the body. Those are the principles by which the entire practice goes on. And people will discover a lot of things happening to their bodies, to their emotions, to their thoughts, and to their understanding of so many things that are going on in their body. And I don't allow them to have a lecture by me and all that. I ask them to ask me questions. That way, whatever the relevant to them, whatever the problem for them, they can ask the questions, and the answers will be appropriate, and they stay in their mind longer because they want to resolve that particular situation. So I do for 45 minutes this exercise in the morning, and the last 15 days, last 15 minutes, I allow it to to be asking questions and answer session like, right? And then I answered questions. And Sanya in the beginning was not able to ask many questions, but later on she began to ask questions, and I was able to give her really this insight into the yoga being for the mind and how we can have. But here we are doing a very simple exercise. It's not like a really big deal, really, But thing is, you got to make it a practice, do it twice a day, and also do it during the day. There's a few minutes at a time, so that during the day you won't be really stressed out. Okay, and also you won't lose that touch with the presence, right? And I recommend you go to the same place in the house or in the office, so that you are not having any external stimuli like your TV is on, or your social media on, or anything like that. And then sit down in the chair. There's the posture is very important. So the time and then the posture. Posture is you sit in the chair with both your feet firmly planted in the on the floor, your toes, your sole, and also your heel. Everything is touching the floor, and then keep your spine erect and close your eyes, and then concentrate on taking the deep breath. When you take the deep breath, the inhalation is about 7 count, and holding it for 4 count, and breathing it out for 8 count. And as you take the deep breath in and out, you kind of focus on your sensation of the air on your nose. That way, you will tie your mind to the breath and not allow it to go all over. After a few breaths like that, you can also have a sensation like you can ask a question, who am I? Then you say, I am this inner awareness, but not just body and mind. So you let go the body mind sensation you have when you are breathing out. But when you take the deep breath in, you ask the question, who am I then? Then you know that the awareness that's behind the thought is you. Okay, so that's a deeper teaching, but to start simply like that is very, very beneficial. Then slowly you will be able to understand what does mean. But in the beginning, just doing mechanically or repeatedly, that's a good thing too. And then you are establishing yourself in the present. Then like that you do 5 times breathing, 10 times breathing, or 50 times breathing, whatever time it appears to you. Only thing is, don't indulge in thinking. Don't think about problems. But if they arise, like I say, oh, I need to pay this bill tomorrow, otherwise I will be penalized or whatever. Then don't indulge in that thought. Don't resist the thought. Let the thought come and go through like a cloud in the sky, and let it come and go through and diminish. Right, that way you will have control over the appearing thoughts. So that is the exercise I want to you do with me. So I'm going to start this now. Like I said, the posture is the more important thing. So let us sit down and keep the spine straight, and uh, both feet firmly on the floor, and you can close your eyes. And as I'm talking, you can just take a deep breath through the nose and let the abdominal wall come out and raise to the front, and that way diaphragm comes down. And then hold it for 4 count, and then when you breathe out slowly for 8 count, and the abdominal wall goes towards the spine so that the diaphragm is lifted upward. Okay, and that way we'll do 5 to 10 breaths, and we go to the next stage after that. Okay, let's start. See, 8 times like that. Okay, early in the morning and mid afternoon and in the evening. If you do that, that's good enough. Okay, and now as you breathe in deeply, now keep your eyes closed, but keep your gaze in the middle of the forehead. And now, as you take the deep breath in, ask the question, who am I? And say, I am that awareness behind the thought. And when you breathe out, say, I'm not just this body and mind. Okay? Feel the sensation of air on the alana side. Tie the mind to the nose, to the breath. If you should have any thoughts coming up, just watch them. Be the witness. As you breathe out, say, I'm not the body or the mind only. As you breathe in, realize you are that awareness behind the thoughts. 2 more times and we are done. So we are done with the simple exercise, but you can do as long as you want. And the longer you do it, the next day it will be better. Especially if you do it at the daybreak and early in the morning before you embark on anything. Okay. Now, if anybody has any questions about the exercise or about any difficulties, any comments about the what I'm talking about, just being awareness, you can come up and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Okay. I've been doing this for some time, and especially when I was involved in um, technical matters of EMR, implementation of EMR, and getting into too much data, it helped me immensely. But for the people who just listen for just listening it and did not take it seriously, especially they did not do in the morning in the night due to various reasons. They may be busy or they are not allowed. They don't have the privacy. So many things, right? But the people who really deliberately tried and did it, they became more resilient and nurses especially, and they were more calm and non-reactive during the workday. So that's what I like to see, and that's what anybody can experience by themselves. For this, you don't have to be jealous about anything. You don't have to be religious, but you can, if you have something like that, a prayer, that's pretty good. Okay, that's okay. You can continue whatever practices you have, but this is more like a modern man inundated with a lot of data and not allowing his mind to go, out of whack is something that is recommended. Okay, so this is a exercise that you can see working if you can establish yourself in the presence in the morning and take it like a perfume through the day and come back to it once in a while. I recommend 1 minute every 1 hour. But if you cannot do that because of the nature of work or because of people around, whatever, at least at the bathroom breaks and all that you take, maybe 1 minute you can allot for yourself and then get back into the deep breathing. But it is done with the spine erect, taking deep breaths and feeling that sensation on the alenasai, and also saying, who am I? Who am awareness? All these things will have. Even if you don't do any of that, if you just take deep breaths and keep yourself really tied to the breathing, then your mind kind of stops whatever it is doing. So that is something that is required because what we are doing is we kind of expose ourselves to so many stimuli from externally and then let our minds react to them. That's how, okay, if you are doing some meaningful work, that is important too. But then we kind of observe so much of negative thinking, so much of unthinking and all that, right? And that becomes a problem. But if you just say, this is what I'm doing for me, then you will be in a flow state instead of running forward with so many projects or thinking about the memories that won't be there. And once you are really in the flow, in the moment, then interfering thoughts are the ones that you want to not to have because you have to focus on what you are doing, especially when it is very sensitive work, right? And then you will be helping your mind to be spending less energy because he's not going all over, right? And that is a unnecessary spent energy. So you won't feel exhausted when you are working. That's another benefit too. And because you are not reacting quickly, you have the potential to avoid lot of situations, lot of problems in your relationships, in what you do, right? So that's another benefit too. So I can cite so many benefits after you become calm, quiet, present, and in flow, and then doing stuff. And your energy will be better because you are deep breathing several times a day. That's a secret of the yogis. They were going all over the place, but they were carrying some water with them. But the secret of their energy is they deep breathe several times, and also they will be doing some japa. That means saying things out loud that are Sanskrit sacred mantras they have. But both most of them have the sound O, which is long and deeper. It helps you a deeper breathing. Okay, even if you don't want to do all of that, just stay with the deep breathing. One thing I taught my son was whenever you see a red light, remember to take a few deep breaths, maybe three or five of them. So that's okay. And that also helps me when I'm traveling in the car. I like to drive my car because and also go in the car because much more independent. You can stop where you want. You can really enjoy the tapes and music and all that, right? But doing this deep breathing in the car while I'm driving really helps me a lot to preserve my energy. So there's so many ways you need to get back to the deep breathing habit because breathing is can be conscious or unconscious, right? So what I'm inviting people to do is conscious deep breathing, and that way you can really have a lot of energy too. The other way, even if you look at scientifically, suppose you're deep breathing, right? What we're asking your diaphragm to go down so that more alveolar spaces are opening up. That's why there's more exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide. More oxygen will come into your system, and that will participate in the metabolism and in the Krebs cycle. And that's why you'll have a lot of ATP generated, and that's your energy. At the same time, you are exhaling all the carbon dioxide too. So all the waste products will go out. That's a good health too. Molecular biology, metabolism that we are very big on now is really showing this increased oxygen all over the body. is very, very good. In yoga also, what happens is when you stretch a muscle, when you stretch in a certain way, you are demanding the periphery of that muscle, you are demanding more blood and oxygen. Suppose you have very well oxygenated blood, the blood that goes to that particular demanded site is really well served with a lot of oxygen. So that's why if you are a real yogi, when you are doing real yoga postures and deep breathing and keeping the mind quiet, you really generate a lot of energy. That's why at the end of the practice, you will be feeling you have really increased your energy, not depleted. Like suppose you walk on the treadmill or you are just walking and all that. What happens is you will be sometimes you are exhausted, sometimes you are really fatigued and you have cramps and all that. In yoga, it doesn't happen like that. So that's one thing you want to pay attention to, why the deep breathing helps us so many ways. The other thing is breathing and mind are interconnected. Suppose somebody is anxious, you come to the clinic, first thing what we do, we give them a brown bag. We ask them take deep breaths so that they can breathe in their own excess carbon dioxide coming out. That's called hyperventilation syndrome. Okay, the more they breathe out the carbon dioxide, the more anxious they become. So we tell them to have to trap that carbon dioxide, so we give them a brown bag and ask them to breathe into that several times so that they can breathe their own carbon dioxide that's going out and coming into them. And that really settles them down. So all anxiety people experience that when they are really worried in the mind or emotionally upset or anything like that. They will notice their breathing has become shallow and fast. But what we want to do in the yogic breathing, which is called pranayama, which is prana means that energy that comes through us into us. Ayama means extending that. Okay, so when you take deep breath and the diaphragm goes down, when you recruit all these alveolar spaces, you are getting more oxygen into your system and spreading to the periphery. So there's so much in there that is very beneficial for you. Suppose you have some pain or something, if you can really breathe into it, at least the intensity will go down, you know. And the more your mind is calm and not working on the pain, imagining worse things, mostly it is the people are really apprehending the pain, and that becomes much worse. But the people who are quiet and placid, they can take a lot of pain. That's called pain threshold. That is increased in them because they are bearing with it. I'm not saying you should suffer from the pain. That's not it. The phenomenon I'm explaining to you. So, okay, so deep breathe, conscious breathe, do it in the beginning of the day and do it at the end of the day, and do it several times between these two times. Okay, and the more you do it, the more your system will like it, and the more you'll be longing to do it. Okay, if you can do that. Okay, if you cannot do it in a private room in the morning and you are traveling in the car, like I said, you can do that in the car. Okay. Suppose you are in the committee and you are not talking and everybody else is talking, do this deep breathing when you are not talking. Okay. That actually quiets you down. That actually takes away the irritation, whatever you feel because of other people's points or whatever. Then when you talk, you are calm, you are stable, and you are taking deep breaths and express yourself. The expression comes better too. And also people will listen to you because your tone is not you know dominating or telling them something, but then you're really relating to the situation and you're more calmer. I remember at one time there was this women's liberation movement was going on, and people were talking, and this lady gets up and she is really agitated about the male dominance, justifiably so. And she kind of really says with the vehemence and with the anger, with the real force, right? And as she has done, even though her points were really right, people were really upset because They they didn't feel very good listening to all that, even though she is correct. And then in the same meeting, Dalai Lama was there. So he got up and then he said the same things, but he said with compassion, with empathy, with kindness. His tone was like that. His inner nature was like that. He always practicing compassion, right? So all the people listened to him and they felt much better, and they were forming constructive activity that they want to do against this injustice that's done to the women. So that is what happens when you really take deep breaths and speak too. Okay, even the speech coaches, they teach you take deep breath in and then talk. That becomes much easier. So anyway, that's all my understanding, and I was trying to give it to you guys, and so hopefully you will realize the what the information overload is doing to your mind. Maybe you have mechanisms to cope with it very well. You can share that with me if you want to. But this is something practical that we could do every day, and we can get ourselves in our control, and our movement in the control, being in the present, helps us in so many ways. And we can always do better work when you're in the present, but not in the past or future. I'm not saying you should forget your past. What I'm saying is don't live in the past emotionally. Okay? Be here and now, and then face the situation as it is. That's a very, very important thing. Eckhart Tolle wrote a couple of books on that. But this was there from ancient times. They said even the past and future, they have relevance with the present. Then only we say it is a past. From the present is the past. Okay, so whatever you are doing, you do it in the present moment. Awareness, that's very important. That's why I say present moment breathing in the morning, but during the day, take a break of present moment breathing break. PMBB, I call it. So, anybody has any questions, or they want to say something about the exercise we did or what I talked about, you are welcome to come up and ask me questions or tell me what is your experience, what your intake is. I'll be happy to listen to you. Usually, I want to do this for an hour. So, first 20 minutes is just introducing the topic for the people who don't know, and then maybe 15-20 minutes of that exercise, and also talking after that. That's a pattern that I wanted to develop, so that please keep the questions to the relevance of this topic. Other 2 days I noticed that people are bringing problems outside of this. Somebody talked about dreams, somebody talked about so many other things, like habits. They were talking about habits. I'm happy to talk to them, but I want to emphasize this success as you go on into the 40 days. So there's so much depth in this that people can understand. That's why I want to stay with this and then really clear all the doubts for them and give them a practical, no money cost, just changing our habits over the time, and thereby benefiting a lot in the oncoming technological tsunami that is going to be there. People will probably um, have to change their jobs at least, and have to upscale them, like I'm doing it. I'm upscaling myself with artificial intelligence. I can't believe only 2 or 3 weeks I've been at it, and I learned so much, and that it still says so much to learn. So I'm having a ball learning them. So I'm not against technology, but I'm also very sensitive to what it can do to us, right? The technology. It can make us sit down a long time. That's not good. And it can make us really heady with a lot of information. That's not good. And also, it can take our jobs and all that. So it's requiring us to learn more skills. The soft skills are very, very, very important as we go into this revolutionary technology that's displacing so many things. Okay. I have been doing digital detoxification for some years now. In 2008, I kind of embarked on this EMR installation in our hospital. Our hospital is the 11th of our 21 hospital chain that we are. So many people implemented. Ours was the 11th hospital they took up on that, and we went to sister hospital in Detroit, and I was in Iowa, right? And we went to Detroit. I took my team, the physician advisory team that we formed, and I was one of the doctors. There was only another doctor. The rest of us came and then left, but we remained. I was the computer guy, and then the other guy is the political guy. He knows the inner and outs of all the politics in the hospital, which I'm not interested in. But we worked together, and then we took our team to Detroit and saw what was going on there because they just installed this system, and then they were having all the problems, right? They told us about that. Then when we started, we kind of, but the one thing happened was the physicians were very resistant at the time. Now they are okay, but at the time, so they were very stressful to our trainers, the nurses and supervisors. We trained them, so I had to take a separate stress-free class for my trainers so that they will perform better. So the whole auditorium was full. 3 times we did it. But then that resulted a good thing, and then I developed a program called stress management for excessive tension. I called it SMET, SMET. That involved physical exercise and breathing, and also some kind of calming the mind or meditation, we called it, or mindfulness practices. And people were very happy that they were doing it because they were really stressed out because of the whole situation. So from there, I picked up this, and then I kind of pop. I was doing this since 1985, actually, in a way. But then this time, this new phenomenon of digital toxicity was happening, and then we need to do something about it. I don't want medications to be given for a very simple reason. I don't want people to really take a lot of medications unless they need them. Okay, that's one thing I did with my patients is cut down the medications as much as possible safely and monitoring it. But I believed in the natural intelligence of the body and the mind. I think we kind of in the adoption of technology we forgot that can be really impaired by our medications, by our habits and all that. So that's why it has developed so much. And now I have the luxury of being calm and quiet in the middle of big crisis. So things change, but then how do you respond? That's where our suffering goes down. Okay. So that's about it. I think it's almost 8 o'clock. The last chance for anybody to come up and talk to me about any of these things. If you have any doubts, I'll be happy to answer, or any comments or any criticisms. We'll be happy to engage. There are people, and Martin is there, and Lydia, John. So many people on the wisdom app. So I do the other LinkedIn, Twitter, but I don't really invite anybody there. They just one-way information. I have to change that probably. But then I can do only one channel at a time probably. You know. Uh, so this is going to be a total of 40 days. Today is the third day, and I'll be counting fourth day, And as we go along, probably I will be having the chance to go deeper into this exercise and explain that. But this is the same exercise we will be doing it, and preferably do it before you go to sleep and right after you get up from the sleep. Okay, you don't want to let your activated thought take over. That's the thing you want to watch. You want to be in the present. You want to be in the awareness. You want to deep breathe and to experience the relaxation and the joy that comes with it after a certain months of practice or some years of practice. Depends on the person. Some people may get it right away. They may be doing it other things probably. They're doing martial arts or um, so many other areas are there that can give you the same benefit of deep breathing and calming the mind. You know, or people may be artists. People may be playing instruments. They also can. They may be writing books and all that. So there are so many activities that can be flow-like states, induce them, and but this deep breathing is always important, and you have to practice that if you want to be healthy. So my motto is now: live long, live well, live joyfully. Hopefully you all will do that, and I'll see you again tomorrow at the same time, 7 central, on all the channels. Thank you very much. I'll be seeing you. If anybody has a question, they can come up. Last chance, otherwise I'll close the room. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.